All right, YouTube. Just wanted to talk about the NXT episode from January 6, 2026, the New Year's Evil event. Let's talk about it. Well, I will say it was a hell of a lot better than freaking Raw from the day before. I'll tell you that much. Started off, our first match was the NXT Women's North American Championship match. That was Blake Monroe challenging Thea Hale for the NXT Women's North American Championship. Unfortunately, this match never took place. What happened was Thea Hale was walking down the entrance ramp, and unfortunately, she got blindsided as she was walking down the ramp by Blake Monroe. Blake Monroe hit her with a steel chair a couple of times and threw her through the crowd barricade, and she took Thea Hale out of commission. And then moments later, General Manager Ava Rain came out, and she was like, all right, that's it. Monroe, you are banned from this arena the rest of the night, and this championship match will not take place. So you got nobody to blame but your damn self for that one. So that's how that went down. Then we had our next match of the night. That was Izzy Dame versus Tatum Paxley. Tatum Paxley had a solid, decisive win in this match with her usual finishing move. And Vic Joseph made it sound like, well, with the conclusion of that match, that was pretty much the end of the feud between Tatum Paxley and Izzy Dame. Up next, we had a promo for a brand new NXT wrestler. He hasn't come to NXT yet. They say he's coming. He's a wrestler from France. He's a guy wearing a mask with long, kind of like dirty blonde hair. He describes himself as a French luchador, has a weird, unusual name. He's calling himself Fleo LaFleur. I mean, I don't know that he'll necessarily keep that name. That doesn't sound like a WWE catchy name to me. I won't be surprised if they start calling him something else. But anyway, that's what he's calling himself for right now. And in the promo, he was talking about how for the last 10 years, he's wrestled in over 20 countries. He's had matches in AAA Lucha Libre wrestling in Mexico. So that was that segment that aired. Up next, we had a NXT Women's Championship match. And here we had Kendall Gray, the current WWE Evolve Women's Champion, and she was also the 2025 Women's Iron Survivor winner. She went up against Jacy Jayne, current NXT Women's Champion, along with her cohorts, Laney Rain and the current WWE Women's Speed Champion, Fallon Henley. Well, not surprisingly, the way they book Jacy Jayne, they always make it look like she can't win a freaking match unless, she has her two cohorts interfering or getting involved in the match. And yeah, I mean, we had Laney Reed and also Fallon Henley getting involved in two areas of the match towards the end, which led Jacy Jayne to getting an underhanded victory there. So yeah, no surprise there. I mean, because when you see Jacy Jayne winning a solid, decisive match, a clean match, I mean, you don't see it very often, maybe once in a while, but certainly not on today's show. You sure as hell didn't see it. Anyway, up next, Thea Hale said she really had her heart set on having an NXT Women's North American Championship match come hell or high water, even though now she's injured and broken down after the attack from Blake Monroe. Now, see, in real life, freaking nobody be saying that. They'd be like, screw that. I'm not going into this, only being at 50% because some freaking a-hole, blindsided me. I'm not defending it tonight. But no, that's what they wanted to do. They made it sound like, okay, Thea Hale, she really wants to have this match. So she set up an open challenge for the NXT Women's North American Championship. And she said, okay, the first women's wrestler who comes out here can have a title shot. Okay, so now you're seeing all, tons of these NXT women's wrestlers and the women's wrestlers from Evolve. They're all coming out. You're seeing like Wendy Chu and Nikita Lyons, Carmen Petrovic, Callie Armstrong, Layla Diggs. You're seeing they're all coming out. And the referees are trying to hold them all back. But once again, Thea Hale, she gets she becomes the victim of another blindsided attack where Izzy Dame, she comes out of the crowd. So she's coming out from the reverse side of where everybody else is coming out. All the other ones are coming out through the entrance ramp. But Izzy Dame, she's coming out through the crowd, so she gives Thea Hale a blindsided attack and beats Thea Hale down. And then by the conclusion of the match, Izzy Dame wins that one, and now Izzy Dame is now the new WWE Women's North American Champion. So that's how that all played out. Next up, we had a segment that it told us what a lot of the matches, or at least some of the matches, are going to be for next week's episode of NXT. All right. Starts off with Ethan Page, the current NXT North American Champion. He's also the AAA Mixed Tag Team Champion, along with Chelsea Green. Well, he comes out. He's giving a promo, talking about himself and everything. And then Jasper Troy, the current WWE Speed Champion, he comes out. And, Jasper Troy confronts Ethan Page. And next thing you know, Josh Briggs comes out. He's giving both of those guys an attitude. So after that, we got Channing Stacks Lorenzo, the current TNA International Champion. He comes out along with his cohort, Ariana Grace. And then he comes out. He's throwing his 2 cents in. Next thing you know, Shiloh Hill comes out. And he announces that he was able to get a title match set up against Channing Stacks Lorenzo for next week, for the TNA International Championship. Then as soon as that gets announced, Tavion Heights, he comes out, and he talks about how he was able to get a title shot for himself set up against Jasper Troy for the WWE Speed Championship. So now we know 2 of the matches for NXT for next week. Yeah. So that's how all that played out. Some other segments that told us about the matches for the following week. Joe Hendry, he was talking to GM Ava Rain, and he was saying, he really wants a no disqualification match against Dion Lennox. GM Ava, she says, well, damn well, okay, you try to set something like that up, you're not going to get a one-on-one match because, God forbid, these guys in this group Dark State, they suck. Individually, they can't win a match on their freaking own. They got to have 3 other people interfering in all their freaking matches. Like, before Dion Lennox won any matches, he always lost and stuff. So now, but that's why he has to have 3 other guys from this group Dark State interfering all the time. So Ava Rain's like, I cannot let this match take place because I know it's just going to be 4 people beating down on you. If you can get a few other people here with you to, just some other people to come out with you and stuff, I'll let you have this no disqualification match against Dion Lennox. So Joe Henry's like, okay, well, I'll see if I can find some other people to join me. So he goes to the group OTM, Lucian Price and Bronco Nima, and he asked them if they would join him out there for this match. Now, first they didn't want to do it, but Joe Henry talked them into it. So they said he'll do it. So now we know next week, no disqualification, Joe Henry versus Dion Lennox. Then we had another segment. We had Kalani Jordan taking off her shoes. She's throwing them at Lola Vice. So we could call her shoe-throwing Kalani Jordan. So that match is set up. We got Kalani Jordan versus Lola Vice. Also seemed like they're setting up a feud between the Vanity Project from Evolve. We saw also Ricky Smokes, Brad Baylor, and Evolve champion Jackson Drake. They're out there giving Tank Ledger and Hank Walker an attitude. So that they didn't officially announce that yet, but that's probably something we'll see coming up also. Another segment, we had Zarya and Sol Ruca. They confronted JC Jane and Fallon Henley and Laney Reed. So that's probably going to set up something match, pretty soon as well. Also, we had Ethan Page confronting Miles Bourne and Evolve wrestler Tate Wilder. So that'll probably set up something soon as well. Then we had our final match. We had our NXT main event, best thing on the show. This was the NXT Championship match. Here we have Leon Slater, from TNA. He's the current TNA X Division champion. And he was out there against the current NXT champion, Obafemi. They had a great match out there. Obafemi had a solid, decisive win. And Then we had our next segment. Okay, now here we have, this is where GM Ava Raine, she's having a backstage meeting with a lot of wrestlers from that we've seen before on WWE Evolve, WWE LFG, WWE NXT Level Up, and these wrestlers included Shawn Legacy, Drake Moreau, Kelly Armstrong, Brad Baylor, Ricky Smokes, Jackson Drake, Harlem Lewis, Anthony Luke, Carly Bright, Chris Island, Danny Sikelski, Penina Tulepa, Trill London, Layla Diggs, Harley Riggins, probably Jax Presley. I think he was out there as well. And GM Ava, she's telling them that, okay, NXT wrestlers, Jordan Grace, Trick Williams, Javon Evans, and Lash Legend, they've all been officially called up to the main roster. They're either all officially on either the SmackDown roster or the Raw roster right now. So that means that we have spaces on the NXT roster have opened up. So, and then as soon as she says that, Robert Stone comes rushing in and interrupts GM Ava. And he's like, oh my God, did you see what Obafemi just did, And Ava's like, no, I don't know what you're talking about. What did he just do? And then the camera goes out there and shows that Obafemi, he left the ring and left his NXT championship belt on the floor of the ring. So apparently, Obafemi has been signed either to the Raw roster or the SmackDown roster. And we've seen how on Raw and SmackDown, they've been playing promos for Obafemi. So you figure he was either going to be called up to the SmackDown roster or the Raw roster very soon. So not surprising that Obafemi vacated the NXT championship. So they'll probably have some kind of a tournament coming up, to decide who the next NXT champion will be. I could see maybe it going to maybe like Ricky Saints, who knows, Tony D'Angelo or somebody like that. And so we'll see how all that plays out. And let's see if there was anything else I wanted to bring up. I don't really think so. So we had, and basically your announcers for the show, Vic Joseph and Booker T. Other than that, I thought it was a decent show. I'll tell you one thing, it sure as hell blew Raw yesterday out of the freaking water with as much hype as there was around the episode of Raw, with the tie-in with the Stranger Things Netflix series and stuff, with as much hype as there was over that show. That show was freaking garbage, in my opinion. I mean, ay. So, anyway, I'm just going to say I'm going to sign off for right now and catch you later.